Blessings and good fortune, everybody. We had a few snafus here on Thursday the 12th. Apparently, the Friday the 13th thing is hitting us a day early. But we're going to be okay. Welcome to the Bitcoin Otter Show. Okay, KCYP, the city, 97.7 out of McAllen, Texas. We are recording live from the McAllen Creative Incubator. Okay, we're also going out on YouTube. We're going out on Facebook. We're going out on what's that other one, Joe? I keep forgetting the radio one. It's not. We'll get back to that. We'll go on. We'll get you up to speed on exactly how many more places we're going out on. But we're going out live, and we are blessed. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We got a bunch of stuff going on. I had a death in the family last week, so I wasn't able to broadcast. But here we are today, and I'm telling you, we have a lot to talk about. There's no doubt there. I'm trying to pull up my my feed here, but we are having a crazy time right now. And honestly, in how would you say, solidarity with trying to keep things light, this is the dude right here, okay? He's going to slam dunk a bowling ball while drinking a White Russian because the dude can do those things. You know, he's one of the laziest men worldwide. Yet, when it comes to bowling, he's good. Now, we do have a lot of things to talk about, but as you well know, we're going to start out with some simple things, some things that we use as sort of like a barometer, sort of an index to let us know how things are going. And we do know that there is light at the end of this tunnel. We do know that we're going to come out of this this craziness we got going. So I'll tell you right now that things. Ian, I see you up there, Ian. Thank you very much for tuning in. We may not have the how would you say, the best scenario going on for us right now in the world, but things are going to be better. I guarantee you. As I said about the barometer, gold prices, silver prices, and Bitcoin prices. Let's see what's happening here. Gold is at $1,880 per 1 ounce of gold. Silver, $22.05. Silver is pretty low. If you were thinking about pulling the trigger on buying a little bit of silver, do it now. I'm not obviously a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just saying if you're already wanting to do something like this, might be a good time. And Bitcoin, $26,700 per well, no ounces there, but one Bitcoin. And again, just for you people that are watching new and you don't really know what Bitcoin's all about, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin all at once. Please don't think you do. Now, here's another thing that is shocking to most of us, but is also something that we can use to gauge where it is we're at. And in this case, it's the average mortgage rate. The 30-year mortgage rate right now is 7.88. Yes, we're pushing the 8% mark on a 30-year mortgage, and we are going to eclipse that. It's pretty obvious. You can pay somebody to tell you that it won't, but you don't have to pay me, and I'll pretty much tell you that, yeah, it's gonna go over 8, and some people think it's gonna go up a lot more. That being said, the 15-year rate is it's better, 7.03. So we're seeing a widening between the 30 and the 15-year. I was noticing it was pretty close at one point or another, but it still is advantageous if you can, swing the higher monthly payment on a 15-year mortgage. It's 85, I guess they call them basis points less. So that over the time period of a loan is pretty significant. So we got a lot of things going on, ladies and gents. A lot of ins and outs, as the dude would say. And what I believe we have to do is think before we speak, before we act, before we react. And that's not always what the average Joe, and not to throw anything at Joe here, but the average Joe doesn't always want to do that because we do in many cases, act reactively. We act instinctively with reflexes instead of thought processes. And I'll get to this in a little bit, and you'll see where I'm going with all this. Now, this is out of Zero Hedge. So this headline says, life in America has never been more unaffordable than it is right now. It's never been more unaffordable. Now, we in America, I guess historically, maybe not those of us that are still alive, but we've had some bad times. I mean, you're talking about the Depression. You're talking about all kinds. Mike, good to see you, Mike. We're talking about all kinds of hardships and adversity, right? Well, Zero Hedge is telling us right now that life in America has never been more unaffordable. Are we talking about like Dust Bowl times included? Are we talking about, recessions and depressions included? And it could be, I don't know. But this is what the article says. Our standard of living is being systematically destroyed. But for a lot of years, many Americans didn't fully understand what was taking place because it was happening so slowly. This is key, ladies and gentlemen. The boiling the frog thing is all over with. We are thrown into this boiling cesspool. Oh, just the thought of that. But that's Bidenomics for you. Now we have reached a stage where the purchasing power of our money is collapsing and the cost of living has become exceedingly painful. Thanks to our rapidly rising cost of living, the middle class is becoming the impoverished class, says Zero Hedge. And the poor are increasingly being pushed out into the streets. This is something, I'm just going to break this in half here, this article. Something amazing to me is that while our poor, Tammy, good to see you. While our poor are being pushed into the streets, American people, American citizens, sometimes even veterans that have either given all, half, or part of their life to fighting for this nation are out in the streets. Yet we can find money for other people from other countries. Yes, very interesting. How about a few more billion for Ukraine? Anyway, if we do not find a way to turn these trends around, it won't be too long before we have tremendous societal turmoil on our hands. Oh, you better believe it's coming, especially in this election year. Earlier today, I came across an article about a woman that found a receipt from Burger King that was dated August 10th, 1986. This is, again, from the Zero Hedge article. At that time, this is August 10, 1986, ladies and gents. At that time, you could buy a Whopper for just $1.54. Wow. $1.54. What are they now? They're crazy. They're like over $6, Joe. It's like over $6, I think, for a Whopper or something like that. I don't usually go to Whataburger. I don't usually go to Burger King since we have Whataburger. See, it's the first thing on my mind when I think burgers, Whataburger. Why would I think Burger King? But anyway, it's not like it used to be. Prices, that is. Now, this is from News Nation. Okay, we're hearing a lot of things about the economy and how ugly it is, and you can understand why. All you have to do is go to the gas pump or the grocery store. But some of the other things that are going on are, how would you say, symptomatic of a country gone awry, a government, in my opinion, vastly overwhelmed by issues and situations for people who really don't know what the heck's going on. Ivan, good to see you. Al's not on. He doesn't like it when I tell everybody he's on. So Al's not on. So this is from News Nation, and it's about the border. Some of you may know about this. Abandoned 2-month-old found by Rio Grande Border Patrol. Yeah, this is a little bit old, but I figured since I didn't do the show last week, I want to bring this up because we here in the Valley have a lot of people that are very closely connected to the border. So a 2-month-old baby was found by the Rio Grande City Border Patrol agents, that particular station. After being abandoned at the southern border, officials said Tuesday, agents reacted quickly in rendering medical aid to the vulnerable infant. The U.S. Border Patrol Rio Grande sector, which covers the southeast Texas, said on Facebook. Last month, News Nation reported that the number of unaccompanied children arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border is the highest it's been since December of 22. Federal statistics from August showed a 73% rise in unaccompanied minors crossing the southern border compared to June. So what do we see, ladies and gents? We see people. We see young people. We see infants. We see all kinds of vulnerable human beings being trafficked, being smuggled, being pushed across this border, and pulled across the border. Why do I say pulled? Some people are like, what do you mean pull? How do you mean that, Otter? Well, there are certain things that our government does to draw illegal aliens into our country. They're drawn in. Well, how? What do you mean? Well, let me give you an example. And this is all just so everyone knows, and this is very clear and above board. This is what's called OSINT. This is open source intelligence, meaning it's stuff that's reported on the news. I'm not, I don't have any sources. I don't have any inside info on this. Okay. What's going on is this. And this was on Tucker, if you want to know the source. Tucker Carlson had an interview with either a current or a former HSI, Homeland Security. I can't remember what it was, but he was somewhere in the Homeland Security Department of, right? So basically, this is what happens. An illegal alien, let's just say a family unit, comes into the United States. Upon arrival, they're given a few things: a phone and a debit card. Okay. Now that debit card is filled with money, depending on how many people you have in your family. So as you arrive, you are receiving this debit card. For every person in your family, you will receive $2,200. Every person in your family, let's say you come over, and I'm not going to do the math. I think you get it. 3 people, 4 people, more money, right? Now, it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. You will also receive plane tickets to the destination anywhere in the United States of your choice. Yes, on the government, on you. So, Yvonne says, for years and years, I had never figured out why all those billions and billions of dollars go out all over the place outside the nation. Yeah. Instead of helping U.S. citizens, like our veteran and homeless, now I understand. A lot of that money goes back to those corrupt politicians in Washington. Yvonne, you, my friend, have it. If I had a dinger, ding, 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 all over that, all day long, buddy, all day long. If you're Republican or Democrat and you're serving in, I shouldn't even say serving, if you're benefiting from the smorgasbord of crime in the U.S. District of Columbia, you're becoming fat on the largesse of American workers. I'm sorry to say that. I'm not in any way being partial or fractional. It's Republicans and Democrats. And until they come up with another party that we can bash because they're going to be corrupt too, then we'll go there. But anyway, I digress. So if you get over here, you're illegal, you got a family, they give you the $2,200 for you, $2,200 for every member of your family, and a ticket to go wherever you want to go. And then here's the jackpot, ladies and gents. Here it comes. Every single month, that $2,200 comes ding, ding, ding into that debit card. Yes, I am not kidding you. Check out Tucker Carlson on X. He interviewed this guy. It's not coming from me. Check it out. Insane. Too crazy. Now, this is interesting here. This is coming from the Daily Caller. Biden admin investigating official accused of being Iranian spy after previously saying she was properly vetted. How does one get properly vetted in the Biden regime anyway? Is it a matter of money, perhaps? I mean, do you pay up front? I don't know how that works. Did you have to be Ukrainian? How do you get properly vetted? I mean, what is properly vetted? to someone on, the staff of a Biden / Obama administrative position. What do they do? Do they ask you questions? Name, phone number, bank account. Is that it? I mean, I don't know. How do they vet? Extremely interesting. So it says the Biden administration, again, Daily Caller, the Biden administration is investigating a top Pentagon official for her alleged ties to an Iranian influence network after previously saying on Wednesday that it was honored to have her serve. No, I think it was profited to have her serve because there's a profit involved. Yes. So Chris Meyer, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations and Low Intensity Conflict, confirmed during a congressional hearing that the Pentagon is actively looking into whether Ariane Tabatabai, no, I'm sorry, I didn't say that right, Tabatabai, a high-level Pentagon official, again, there's that term, a high-level Pentagon official, this Iranian spy, did I say spy? Was a high-level Pentagon official, okay? Well, they say she was properly vetted. I don't know if that's a good game. I don't know what that entails. As Tabatabai stands accused of working for an Iranian influence network. When asked about Tabatai's ties to Iran, thanks, Daily Caller, the Pentagon previously told the Daily Caller News Foundation and other media outlets that she was thoroughly and properly vetted, and there it is again. And it was an honor to have her serve. Now, how many times do they have to be honored? Jackie, glad to see you. Mingo the Merciless is on. And Tammy says, what a joke, corruption at its finest. I agree with you, Tammy. It is corruption at its finest because you know why? Republicans and Democrats are involved. That's why. That's why it is at its finest. Now, if you want to go, you know what? I think Mexico's got a bad rap. If someone says, and they're probably right, that Mexico's government is corrupt, what would you say about ours? I would say that we took it to the pro level, the professional level, the big leagues, if you will. So apparently, and there's more to this, ladies and gents, and you'll probably only hear it here because it's being buried as we speak. But yes, there is ongoing an Iranian spy in the Pentagon, at least one that they know of, and the Daily Caller called out this woman. And, she's probably one of those, I saw a picture of her. Let's just say, check out the Daily Caller. I won't get into any more details there. Anyway, here's another issue that's popping up. Sabotage. Leak in the submarine gas pipeline. This is, I believe, I didn't write it down here, so I'm going to go with the Gateway Pundit. A leak in the submarine gas pipeline between Finland and Estonia was deliberate act. Yes, officially, a deliberate act. Damage came after a year after Nord Stream explosions. So they're messing around with Europe again. Ladies and gents, we're going into winter. Winter in Europe is cold. Winter in Europe without gas is colder. Yes. So if you don't think that these things are being purposely done, try investigating a little further, because there are a group of people that don't want any comfort to come to the regular people. I know it sounds, it's diabolical, Otter. It's a conspiracy theory set by a bunch of people that are paranoid. Well, there's a couple things about that, but anyway, here's what the article says. As winter approaches, and a little over a year after the Nord Stream pipeline was sabotaged, according to Pulitzer Prize-winning author Seymour Hersh, he said the U.S. did it. It's us, the U.S. And he has very, very good evidence for that. A new disruption in European energy pipelines is reaching the headlines. The Finnish government said today, October 10, that a submarine gas pipeline has been damaged and started to leak in what very much appears to have been a deliberate act. Yeah. A telecommunications cable connecting Finland and Estonia under the Baltic Sea was also damaged. So not only did they damage the pipeline, they damaged the communication line that would have told them, hey, your pipeline's damaged. They're pretty thorough. The Baltic Connector gas pipeline was shut on Sunday for leaking from a hole in the 48-mile pipeline, 48 miles. Finnish operator Gasgrid stated that the damage could take months to repair. Going into months of winter, harsh temperatures, climate, it could take months to repair. Something's up, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not good. So now, I have spoken about a lot of things, and there are a lot of things going on, and they need to be touched on, such as this sabotage in a gas pipeline and things of that nature. Now, what I want to talk about here is something that has been going on. I guess it's the elephant in the room kind of thing. So we all know what happened in Israel. We all have probably seen many videos. We've probably read many articles. We've probably listened to horrific accounts of what occurred there. If you know me, and most of you do, or if you've watched this show, you know that I like to have a wide range of perspectives. Now, I have my own opinion, and when I come on the show, I am obviously very opinionated. But when it comes to things like this, I first of all caution myself, and I would caution anyone else. Before a knee-jerk reaction, before a let's kill them all type of reaction, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there is never a place for the let's kill them all, depending on who they all are. We have to think, ladies and gentlemen, we have to engage our thought process, which is what many of the parasite class that run this world don't want us to do. If we don't allow our thought processes, if we don't allow the logical chain of evidence to stream across our mindscape, tapping into sources of information, using your experience, using the ability you have to think that God gave you, to try and put things together in such a way that it makes sense or it's more plausible than other ways. If we don't use this process and we repeat or regurgitate what it is that others tell us about events like this, we may live to regret it. Here's what I mean. If you are a person that believes, like many do, especially on social media, that the Gaza Strip should be made into a parking lot, it should be liquefied, it should be Nagasaki and Hiroshima 10 times over. If you're one of those people, remember that there's children and there's women there. First things, always remember the human aspect of any conflict, right? So there are humans there. There are children, and I liken it to the border when we see these, like this abandoned 2-month-old baby that I just spoke about. That abandoned baby didn't choose to come here. That abandoned baby didn't choose to break our laws. That abandoned baby did not come here for the $2,200 that its parents will receive. Okay, that is not the reason that 2-month-old baby came here. The 2-month-old baby came here because he or she didn't have a choice. Humans, parents in this case, said, we're taking you. You don't have a choice. So if there are children, and women, thank God, are assigned by God to take care of children, mothers, aunts, so forth, wives, if they're there too, do you want them to be a parking lot? Do you want them to be part of the parking lot? Now, some people do. Some people do because, well, women are one of the greatest gifts God ever gave us aside from salvation. They assist on bringing in other generations of us, of humans. And there are people out there that don't want any humans of that type to come back upon this earth. Where I'm going with all this is a certain knee-jerk reaction in any time of strife like this, without thought, can lead to more tragedy, can lead to more bloodshed, more carnage, more horrible acts than have already transpired. So I have things, and I want to give you an example here, and I don't have it in my notes. Let me pull it up. I'm on Twitter, and as you can imagine, I get in Twitter fights all the time. Well, X, okay? So I'm gonna let you in on this one Yahoo. And I'm gonna call him a Yahoo because we're over the air and children might be listening. But I'd really like to call him some other things. Anyway, this guy goes as dry heat writer on X, right? And here's what he responded to me with as I was telling people the same message I'm giving you now, that, hey, maybe some things aren't exactly as how we're receiving them in the news. And here's what he says. Raw videos are all over the internet outside of mainstream media, because I initiated the discussion by saying mainstream media can't be believed. He says, this is real. I'm adding, stress here to his voice. To deny the brutality of Hamas or question whether it's happening is deeply offensive and echoes those who say the Nazis were good guys. This Yahoo, and if you're not watching, I'm putting my hand down and I'm doing the thing for emphasis that I would really love to say more about this Yahoo instead of just calling him a Yahoo. So what he says is it's real. So he, from his chair with Cheeto stains on his fingertips, is telling me this is real. Is he coming from Israel? No. Is he in the Gaza Strip? No, he's not. He's on his couch in his mom's house telling me this is real. Then he says to me that if I deny the brutality of Hamas, and if I question whether it's actually happening, that it's deeply offensive to him. And he didn't even say to him, he said offensive in an objective sense. So if I think about things, if I question things, I am offending someone. I am creating an offense to one person or a group of people because I am questioning things. I am trying to think. That is offensive to these people. And then he goes on to say, like all of them do, I'm sure he was in many discussions that devolves to this. He says, it echoes, big word for a Yahoo, those who say the Nazis were good guys. So he equates me with a guy who says the Nazis are the good guys. Now, if you watched any one of my shows, you've probably heard me tell you time and time again that Nazis are alive and well in Ukraine. And they're not the good guys. Okay? So this was just an example of what it is out there and how people have become so agitated because it is a horrific events that are transpiring in Israel and now via missiles in Palestine. Some people don't believe that there's even such a state as Palestine. I understand. And others think there's no state of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been going on for eons, for millennia. Millennia has this battle been going on. Okay? It is again cropping up. And you can bet on it if you wish, that the usual suspects will be taking advantage of all of this human misery to make it bend to their agenda. So, as this Yahoo, tells me that it's deeply offensive, in his words, that I think about this situation, that I actually try to get the details in a cognitive order so that I can make a decision as to how I'm going to judge this, who I am going to condemn and not condemn, and all that goes with all this. So while he says that's offensive to stop and think, I'm going to stop and think. I don't care what he says. So as I move on in this, and if you have any comments, please throw them up. I know this is, how would you say, a difficult situation, a difficult concept, but we have to talk about it. Here's the Washington Examiner. Israel war. Egypt gave warning about Hamas attack, McCall says. So I guess that's the author, or he's some sort of bureaucrat. Egypt warned Israel about an attack from Hamas 3 days before the weekend assault. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCall, there he is, he's out of Texas, said on Wednesday, we know that Egypt has warned the Israelis 3 days prior that an event like this could happen. McCall told reporters after a closed-door intelligence briefing focused on the war, according to The Guardian. I don't want to get too much into classified details, but a warning was given. I think the question was at what level. I don't think that's the only question, Mr. McCall. I think there are so many questions about this. And again, if I offend you with questioning, then please feel free to listen to someone who will tell you what to think and what to feel and how to react. You can do that at any time. I'm not like that. And I think that's why many people do decide to tune into the show, because I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm not going to tell you how to react. And I'm not going to tell you how to emote. Kill them all. I won't do that. I'm not going to do that. So the question here is, at what level, according to Mr. McCall, at what level was Israel warned? Well, I'm going to go a little deeper here, because when we say Israel, it is automatically noted that they have the best intelligence apparatus in the world, in Mossad. The best. Perhaps second best is the international conglomerate of the Five Eyes. Okay? So they've taken 5 different nations, to include the U.S., okay, brought all of their intelligence apparatus together as an overarching search engine, if you will, to find bad guys and intelligence of all sorts throughout the world. They didn't hear a peep. 1. 2. This attack occurred on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. You think that's a trigger date? You think that might be something where they might want to notch up the alert a little bit? This is what I mean by thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Think first. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, as you can see. But thinking is almost always, unless it's in a life or death situation where you got to fight or you got to flee, thinking, and then you got to rely on training and experience. Thinking is almost always the best route. So what I'm getting at is this. There are issues about this whole thing that need to be addressed. And if we don't address them, maybe we ought to hold back on a judgment call or a vendetta of death. Perhaps that's just me. So if you remember, there was an attack. I believe the first strike perhaps might have been. I'm not sure. But there was like for lack of a better term, a hippie festival, a music transcendental, whatever they called it, festival in the desert. Okay. People like to do that. They just go in the desert and they do things. I don't know. So it was called the Supernova Sukkot Gathering. Okay. And it was a weekend-long outdoor trance. This is according to one of the news outlets. I can't remember exactly which one I got it off of. I apologize for that. I can go back and hook you up with that. But open source, of course. It was a weekend-long outdoor trance music festival that began on October 6, 2023. Oh, I'm sorry. This is from Wikipedia. Wikipedia has this, if you'd like to look this up. And Wikipedia, as you well know, changes. So it took place in the western Negev desert, approximately 5 kilometers from the Gaza-Israel barrier, near the Reim kibbutz. Okay. Now it was produced, says Wiki, by an organizer called Nova, also referred to as Tribe of Nova. It was the Israeli edition, the pre-festival event, that was started in Bahia, Brazil, 23 years ago. Okay, that's a little background. Okay, and they call it a Psy Trance Festival, whatever. This is one of the important parts. The organizers switched to the site only 2 days before, after the original location in southern Israel did not work out. So 2 days before it switched, it was in one place, and then in the place that the Hamas attackers, okay, some of them, I don't know if you've seen the video, they're on these like, they got a swamp fan behind them, and they got this seat, and then they got the parachute above them, and they're tooling around the desert, looking to kill people. So they came down, and one of them came down into a transistor on a high wire. He was a post toasty upon impact. Good for him, right? So that's where they came down in the desert. Now, a question. Now, according to the Yahoo here on Twitter and many others, we're not allowed to question anything because that would be offensive. But I'm going to make the question. I'm going to ask the question. Is there any connection to the fact that the site was changed and the fact that that's the precise location that the Hamas attackers landed? That's a question, ladies and gents. I'm not going to pretend I have the answer. I'm just saying we ought to ask questions. Ask questions about this stuff. Scheduled to coincide with the Jewish festival of Simchat Torah, the rave, it was a rave, I guess, too, was built as a celebration of friends, love, and infinite freedom. The festival site had 3 stages, a camping zone, and an area with a bar and food. Attendees described the crowd as mostly consisting of Israelis aged 20 to 40 from across the country. Attendance was reported at 3,500, but figures may vary. Security guards and police were present at the festival. So, why was it changed? That's a question we need to ask. Don't pretend to have the answer. Was that site that Hamas landed on the original site in their attack plan? Don't have that answer either. Mind you, some people do. Mind you, I doubt that there's anyone in either high levels of Mossad or Five Eyes that don't know these answers. I don't. So these are the things, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to ask ourselves. And one of the things we have to remember about these issues, we will be forced into, if we allow it to be, we will be, if we allow ourselves to be, we will be forced into a kill them all attitude at some point or another. Because the people who run this whole show, and I have another word before show, that's a 4-letter word that I love to say right now. Let's just use Clown World. People who run Clown World, they want us to react in a certain way. They want us to think in a certain way, and they would love it if we killed each other. It would save them the money and the effort. But we're not going to do that, ladies and gentlemen. We don't act on their bidding and their will. We have free will. And if we really get evolved, we give over that free will to God who created us. But suffice it to say that we're not going to let a bunch of evil individuals that run this world into the ground, that love having homeless people and want to feed us bugs, put us in high rises with no cars. That's what they want for us. That's their plan. The parasite class is what I'm talking about. Klaus Schwab, right? Guys like that. The Federal Reserve founders. They won't let you know who they are. But we can go with the names, right? We can go on. You all know this. It's all conspiracy theory to most. To the normies out there, they could never organize to a level where they could control events, where they could control politics, where they could control militaries. They could never organize on that level because, well, then that would be conspiracy. And we've been told that conspiracies don't happen. So I'm going to refute that right here and now, as you well know. There are people out there that fashion narratives. I don't want to get wrapped up into one, no matter what this Yahoo on Twitter or X wants me to do, because he's offended that I haven't made a snap judgment on something. I'm not going to tell you where he can shove it, but what he can do is probably learn from his lessons, because if and possibly when the events are sussed out and we see that, wait a minute, that initial information we got was off. Let me give you an example. We don't have to go far. 9/11. I'm telling you, and this is from experience, I wanted to kill Arabs. At that time in 2001, I felt like I wanted to kill them all. Kill them all. And then I grew up and I learned. Had nothing to do with school. Nothing to do with the institution, especially not the higher learning ones. Nothing to do with institutionalization. What it had to do with was experience, logic, okay? The initial accounts of 9/11 were almost all lies. We've been lied to for generations. I'm not going to go into it because, we have a time limit and I value your time, but we could go with the Kennedy assassination also. But let's stick with 9/11. Okay. Tammy, he won't learn. He's too busy being offended over everything that isn't his opinion. Thank you very much, Tammy. You get the point. Bing, right on in the bullseye. If it's not his opinion, it's not worth listening to, and it is offensive. What I'm trying to relate is that his opinion has been fashioned by others. We can't let that happen. So in 9/11, they told us that it was a guy named Osama bin Laden. Wow, whoa, now we know the enemy, right? I mean, that was like days afterwards, right? But if we were patient enough to wait, I think it came out weeks, months, maybe even years later, we realized that after all of us were banned from air travel on 9/11 and the subsequent days, there was a family in the United States that not only traveled on 9/11, but was given charter planes, and somewhere in the double digits, almost 70, I think, were flown out of the United States. These people were flown out of the United States. The name of that family was Bin Laden. Wow, Otter, that's a conspiracy theory. Yes, it is. But it also happens to be true. Because I'm telling you right now, ladies and gents, the conspiracy theorists are batting 1,000 compared to the news, to the mainstream media, who lie to us every single day. So when I say look at things cautiously, weigh things with a definite thought pattern in mind, I mean it. And not because I'm smart, but because I'm getting old and I have experience. Okay? Now, we're coming on not quite an hour, but I don't want to waste anybody's time and I want to beleaguer anybody's patience. Okay? And I guess this would be a great time for me to say that we are in KCYP, the city, 97.7 FM, going out to the McAllen area. We're also on Facebook. We're on YouTube, both the KCYP 97.7 FM feeds and the Bitcoin Otter feeds. So we're coming out at you. We very much enjoy being a part of your day. And if you're listening to it a different day, that's great too. What I would also like to engage in is some listener feedback. If you have anything you want me to touch on, send me an email, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Throw it to me. I will talk about it. We'll entertain you here on the show. If you're local, come on in. We'll have you on. You can view your opinions. I have no problem defending mine. And in this case, today, it's thinking. Let's think, ladies and gentlemen, before we shout, before we scream, before we jump up and down, and before we react. Let's think. Let's figure out what the closest thing to the truth is, and then make decisions. Then make declarations. That's all I ask. Thank you very much for listening in. Thank you very much for having the patience with our technical difficulties. This is a work in progress. If you want to come down and see all the stuff we're dealing with, come on down. We'd love to have you on. Thank you very much again. God bless you. God bless your families. May God be with you.